Let's go, let's go, let's go. We're here with another session and another series of Kicks and Kicking It. I am here with Pastor Antonio Wilder. Let me tell you right now, put your seatbelts on. It's going to be buck wild. It's going to be funny. It's going to be hilarious. We go way, way, way back. And he even has the Aggie hat. And man, when we reflect back on the Aggies, man, we come a long ways. Yes. But before we get into that, it's called Kicks and Kicking It. I'm your host, Darryl Williams, and I'm starting it off. I'm rocking a little blue dunks right here. They actually call raspberry dunk, but when my brother came in, man, he kind of outdid me, man. He came with these Chucks, man. Talk about your Chucks real quick.
Yeah, man. So I went back, deep closet. So All-Star Taylors, the plaid versions. So right. Not just a regular single color, but I got a little something going on with that.
Yes, sir. They're looking good. Well, let's go ahead and jump into why we are here. We're here to talk about urban church planting and talk about healthy marriage and why it's important. But before we jump into that, go ahead and introduce yourself and share a little bit about you.
All right. So I pastor God's Glory Deliverance Ministry. I am a husband to Lasagna Wilder, father to Deasia, Deanna, and have two wonderful grandsons, both 3 years old. Mm-hmm. And love God, man of God, and just love doing ministry. That's it,
man. And he truly does love God. We could talk about a lot of that. We met at A&T.
Yeah.
I was a young knucklehead, lost. I mean, completely lost. And
I agree with all that.
You agree with all that? I believe. I was lost, and it's funny, man, because when you lost, you find other lost people. And in my journey, I found this lost dude, and we reconnected many years later back here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But man, what a journey, man!
Absolutely.
Just it's crazy because in that season, while we were wilding out, but you did have some stability called Sonya.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We met in college, and I never forget, like, our connection from the start was, I don't want to do the cliche, match made in heaven, but it was. Immediately saw that there was something, that there was a special connection outside of just a boyfriend-girlfriend thing.
Right.
And man, we connected, and we were together 3.5 years in college, and then as soon as she graduated, got married, man. And that connection has been, I'm telling you, just marvelous. And now it'll be 31 years of marriage.
31 years.
Yeah, this coming May.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you had marriage.
Yep.
But in this time, and this is when I was back in New York and working corporate America and doing whatever I was doing. But during this time, you guys were being groomed in ministry.
Yeah.
And in that process of being groomed in ministry, eventually, we're going to, for the sake of time, we're going to fast forward. You actually planted a church, and it was crazy because we were planting around the same time.
Absolutely.
But during that time of planting, you had a oneness.
Yeah.
Even in chaos, there was a oneness.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out here that are trying to plant and don't have a oneness with their partner. So can you share with us real quick, like how important, how critical it is for church planters to, one, be intentional about their marriage, and two, really have that unified mindset and heart?
Well, I would say this. First of all, our marriage was always first priority. We did ministry together. I mean, everything together. Outside of me and the men's ministry and her and the women's ministry, every aspect of ministry we served together. And so it was just, it was never like, in a sense, a separation of any part. And then we loved God. And the crazy part about all of that was this. When we started doing ministry, and even knowing that God had called us to minister, to pastor, we understood what we were good at.
Right.
I was a visionary. I could, whatever God could give me, I could think it out or whatever He could plant it in me. And then she was a awesome administrator. I'm talking about like unbelievable.
Right.
And the way that we were able to unify all that and it worked so well in ministry together is the fact that we stayed in our own lanes.
That's critical.
I didn't try to be the visionary and administrate. She didn't try to administrate and be the visionary. And through that, it made it so much more cohesive to be able to get things accomplished. And I mean, it just, as far as us and our connection, the ministry aspect may not necessarily flow like that. But with us, how we flowed together was working perfectly.
But to your point, you know, that's ministry. You know, we put a plan together, put a vision together, and we'll have some chaos go around. But even though there's a storm going on the outside, if we're unified as one with our marriage, then those things out there don't really impact us. I always give the scenario about what is it? You know, a hurricane or tornado, right? Let's say if you get caught in the eye of the tornado, you can look up, you can see the sun. But the minute you reach out, that's when you can get hit with that debris and stuff like that. So what I hear you saying is that with you guys staying in your lane, it kept you from the debris or the chaos of ministry.
And see, and the other piece of that was that we never, and it's going to sound crazy that I say this, but we never took ministry home.
Come on.
Like, we understood that we had the aspect of ministry, doing ministry, but when we came home, we were a family. We didn't allow the chaos, the storms of what was happening in ministry to affect the peace that God desired for us to have in our house. And that was the way that it kind of just, it allowed us to have our break from the storm, with that, our covering from the storm within the peaceful setting of our own home and our peaceful setting within amongst us together.
So I hear what you're saying. I don't take ministry home. But does that mean you don't talk about it?
No. It means you talk about it. But here it is. We have to understand that the home environment is now for us to replenish each other. Right? So our discussions can be about ministry, but the weight of what the ministry calls does not come home. So we have to understand that there's still a love portion that we need to feed each other with. I need you. Now, you know, in our, I hope I ain't saying too much here.
No, go ahead.
In our peacefulness and our places of calmness, like, I love for her to rub my head. So I will put my head on her lap whenever she knows, whenever there's that tension of ministry.
You did what?
I'll put my hand on her lap, and then she will rub my head. And that is bringing me to a place of peace and calmness from the chaos. And same with her place was her feet. Right? So I know when she's in a sense of, it may be rattled or there's maybe something bothering her, some tension, I rub her feet, put her in a place of peace. So our environment becomes our place of replenishing. And the ministry aspect, then we are able to talk in sensibility as it relates to those things that we.
You said something earlier. You said ministry was not going to impact your marriage or whatever, and it's you know, it's crazy because me and my wife, we had the same conversation when we jumped out. It was like my commitment to her was, I will never have an affair with Christ's bride.
That's good.
And that's Christ right now. I'm called to steward over those things, but I'm not going to have that affair where we've seen leaders that fall in love more with their ministry and have such an intentionality with their ministry, but don't carry that same fire and that same energy when it comes to their ministry, which is their wife. So we kind of got ahead of ourselves, because I think first what we need to do for the people is what is your definition of a healthy marriage? Because a healthy marriage for one person may not be for the other person, but do you have a general definition or a outlook of a healthy marriage?
I would say that a healthy marriage is that which, of course, we have God as our priority, first and foremost, all right? And then what we do is now then our structure as God has determined, even in Genesis, how things were put together and whatnot, that family be the next component under God.
Absolutely.
See, what I think people get out of alignment is they have their priorities mixed up because their focuses are mixed up, right? Whatever, in some sense, gets their most attention becomes their priority, right? So in some sense, a lot of, even with church planning, and we know how hard it was, and is still, how to plant churches, well, that becomes our forefront. And then our marriages are off balance. Now, here it is. Now, and I teach balance not being necessarily, because people say, yeah, we need a balance. We need a balance. But I teach balance is not necessarily good in all aspects. Because if you got chaos and then you got good things in the same pot, and you try to balance those things, so you're balancing the good and the bad. I say the balance, a healthy balance, is you make sure that those things that are important are in the pot, and then you see how they are prioritized. Well, with a healthy marriage, you have to understand what God has called marriage to be. And then when you live on the premises of what that is, and God is the first and foremost, and then your priorities in line, it can be healthy.
I love that, because the outline or the definition is looking at the biblical blueprint of the original intention of the design of marriage according to God, right? And then now implementing that in our lifestyle and letting it manifest how we handle our marriage. So there's so much in this that I want to go into, but again, you said some other things, the intentionality. Intentionality is critical. So how do you and Sonia, how do you, here we go with balance. Your intentionality, I know what you guys put into ministry. And how y'all plan out things, and y'all take your business acclimates and your professional acclimates and put it into the ministry. How do you go about being as intentional with your marriage and not just allowing it to happen, but say, hey, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it?
Good question. Well, we believe in just operating in the biblical structure, all right? And it's simple, all right? It says that husbands love your wife, wives submit to your husbands, and we say submit, I'm meaning respect. In the sense of place of respect, your husband as head, that God has put him over as leader, right? Here it is, it says, children obey your parents, all right? Family structure still in place. And then it says, parents, train up your children, or train up the child in the way they should go, and then when they're old, they will not depart from you. Right. So in a sense, you be intentional about keeping that model, that structure together, and then everything else will fall in place. And that's what we have operated in the sense of the context of what the structure is and what marriage is. We have kept those things as priority and in place so they would have the benefits. And I promise you, when you operate in that system that God has approved of, then things fall in line.
Yeah, that is wonderful, and I think it sounds real simple, right?
It does.
It sounds real simple.
Wow, I rattled off.
Right, you simplify it, right?
You know, sometimes it ain't easy for husbands to go lives.
Listen. I'm not smiling. No, so it sounds simple. It is simple when we keep things in perspective. But again, just like everything else, we know the enemy is throwing darts and daggers here and there, and we got to deal with it. So let's transition into our phase now, where the Lord has blessed us to have the opportunity to just walk with other leaders, right? I want to say, like, are you bringing up the health of their marriage, and two, what are some of the pitfalls that you've seen when they don't make marriage critical in their ministry?
Good question. As a matter of fact, we just came back from a couples summit in Myrtle Beach, where we had the opportunity of sharing and pouring into some married couples, and even with the married couples that are affiliated with our ministry and those that in the sense that I cover.
Right.
We make sure that their situations are healthy as well as it relates to that. But some of the pitfalls that I see where we talked about it earlier, some of the pitfalls is when there is a imbalance in the fact of ministry over your marriage or your house. All right. There's also a pitfall whereas for some reason we as Christians believe that we need to present ourselves as perfect. That our marriages are free from every aspect of life that people deal with. And I think we give people a false view of what true marriage is. There are going to be times there are going to be disagreements,
right?
But in the church setting, we present ourselves as being perfect,
right?
And then people they are hurt. Then when that which they have viewed as perfect, when that falls off, and they're like, I didn't even know they were going through that right there. It hurts. It causes the culture or domino effect in the lives of other marriages. And then the other piece is communication. I believe that's a pitfall because what will happen is if we will find ourselves dealing with everybody else's issues in ministry and giving attention and stuff in a lot of meetings and conversations with other people, and we forget even how to talk to our own spouse. So I believe that those are some of the things that will pitfalls and whatever.
Wow. Yeah, this is so good, so rich, and I think that we could stay here for a while, just like all these other conversations, and it's crazy because the whole podcast is talking about urban church planning, how to resource them, how to ensure that we are creating healthy ministries. Do you have any resources? I know personally with your ministry and things like that you would offer to those to take advantage of to sustain healthy marriage?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we have started something with another partnership with another ministry, Friends Family Worship Center in Burlington, North Carolina, Pastor Cynthia Cummins. We have started this Marriage Conquers Facebook group.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're going to be meeting virtually once a month or so, and just trying to pour into marriages.
That's good.
And then just providing that place so that marriages can come and they can put their stuff in and give some sound biblical advice as to properly handle the situations in their life. Yep.
Man, I love it.
Yep.
And we got a couple minutes left.
Okay.
What I always do at the end is give our opportunity for our guests to brag on themselves, share what you got going on, and how we can connect with you.
Well, right now,
look in that camera right there.
Yeah, right there. Okay, all right. Make sure it's good. Focused on me. All right. Yeah. God's Glory Deliverance Ministry. We're doing great things. We're on the east side, University area of Charlotte. As a matter of fact, I am also interim pastor right up the street here at Greater Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church. And all we're doing is we're trying to disciple people, and we're trying to connect with people, show the love of God, trying to make an influence in the community. We believe that if we impact our circle of influence, that it would have an impact and a growing effect on the whole kingdom of God. And we're just trying to keep it simple. We're just trying to be relative and relatable and love God.
Man, love it, man. This is my brother, Pastor Antonio Wilder.
Yes,
listen,
sir.
we kept the PG for you this time, man.
No stories,
no stories, man. We kept the PG. I want y'all to come back and check me out for the next podcast. Hey, this is Kicks and Kicking It with the one and only Pastor Antonio Wilder, and I am your host, Daryl Williams. Look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.